Is this thing on? Welcome, you guys. It's your boy Jake, Favorite Investor. And today on this live, we're going to break down on paper how I'm about to flip a house. One of the 15, 16 I'm flipping right now. Probably make 50 to 60 grand using 100% other people's money. We will break it down from the basic calculation, the basic formula, all the way to how we're going to get our profits. So make sure you join. Let yourself be known here, and we're going to do this. I'm going to let you guys join. Good to see you. Man, we got the trolls already in the room. Makes me feel loved. And let's do this. Let me get the link in here for you guys. Welcome. For those of you just joining, we're going to go over a 100% OPM flip. I'm going to get my moderator in the room. Chelsea, you know what to do. I've already seen him. And we're going to break this down. What is going on? What is going on? What is going on? Good to see you. It's your boy Jake, Favorite Investor. 962 flips deep. It's been 11 years in the game. Still flipping houses using 100% other people's money, which means no money out of my own pocket. Not a contractor. I'm not a real estate agent. I don't live anywhere close to most of my flips. Just moved across the country. I'm going to continue not living anywhere close to most of my flips. Kind of tempted, though, to do a little business here in Tennessee. But for the time being, it's business as usual. I'm going to walk you through it on the beautiful whiteboard here. We're going to laugh together. We're going to cry together. For those of you watching this in the future, you will see me answering some of the questions. I'll read them so that you know the context through which I'm answering them. And we're going to have ourselves a grand old time. But before we do that, who is new here? Let me know if you're new to the room, new to the page, new to these lives. Show me in the comments, because I have to tailor my language based on whether there's newbies here or if it's everybody super experienced. I could do it either way. And a lot of times it ends up the same way anyway. But let me get a read of the room. Legendary Adrian, welcome. We've got one new person here. I like that. Give me like the hashtag new or the yellow hand thing or whatever it shows you there at the bottom. Aiden Ben Como. What's up from Denver? What's up? Jude Starr, welcome. Trace Angel, new to lives, welcome. Good to have you here. Kianoosh, 1993, welcome. Charlena, welcome. Coffee Date 8, the newbie, not to be confused with Coffee Date 9. What's going on, my friend? Welcome, welcome. Been here before, still don't know much though. Well, I got you. Okay. Rick Conchola, welcome. What's up, Matt? Matty V, good to see you. All right, we got newbies in here. We got some of the usual suspects in here. It's all good either way. So we are going to break down on this live. I locked something in. Well, I kind of locked it in late last week, put it under contract this week. Going to move pretty quickly with it. I'm going to show you all the numbers as to why it's a good deal. Break down exactly what goes into it. It's not whether or not it's HGTV worthy. It's not whether or not I like the neighborhood. It's not whether or not there's good schools, right? I'm never going to step foot inside this area. All that really matters is the numbers, and that's what we're going to share here. I'll show you the thought process, tell you the whole story behind it. Again, we'll laugh, we'll cry, you'll ask me questions, and you're gonna end this with a better understanding of what's going on with today's market, with the flipping game in general, with real estate economics. And you'll have something that's going to be profitable if you apply it to your marketplace, okay? So it's going to be pretty fun here. Welcome to everybody joining. All right, so I think that's enough. So before we actually start drawing this stuff here, understand that the screen is flipped so I can see what you guys are saying. That allows me to answer some questions. Now, I'm not going to be able to answer every question. That's why I have a mod in the room. There's a moderator. What's up, Chelsea? We have some of the people in our group in the room as well, the Flip family from the mentorship program. If people have questions and I don't see them, or I'm going off on a tangent, something like that, as I tend to do, guys, feel free to help answer some of those questions for some of the people that need need information or clarification. If I don't catch that, I would appreciate it from you guys. But outside of that, let's get going. Now, it's important for you guys to understand, I've been doing this every day for, I guess, 11 years now, almost 11 years. Started in 2011, late 2011. That's when I got my first flip, was like November of 2011. I learned in September of 2011. Before that, I was broke as a joke. Credit wasn't great. Had $700 in my bank account. Ended up seeing an infomercial for one of those HGTV guys. He was talking about flipping houses with no money out of pocket. My problem, and actually it was good for me, my big issue, okay, is I wanted to be a millionaire. Okay, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't have any money. I didn't come from money. I grew up relatively poor, or lower middle class. Depending on who you ask. Some people say he's poor. Some people say middle class. Whatever it is. Okay, we have blue collar in our family. We did not have entrepreneurs in our family. I didn't have real estate agents or anyone that gave me exposure to the real estate business. It wasn't until I quit my job and tried to start my first business. I had some money saved up. I lost all that within 6 months. And I was looking online. Actually, I was writing a failure plan. I was like, fuck, I gotta get a job again. I gotta probably sleep on someone's couch. I bought a house in 2009 for like 140 grand. And my mortgage payment was about $900 a month. I couldn't pay that for another month. Like I had $700 like to my name. So I had car payment, mortgage payment, bills, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, what am I going to do? This is a true crash and burn scenario. Everybody warned me like, that's too big of a risk trying to start your own business. Just play it safe. Keep that 9 to 5. My problem was I got to the office at 9 o'clock and I left at 4:59 and I was freaking miserable, right? I love the people that I worked around, but I was doing it every day. I felt like I had some creativity. I felt, selfishly, I felt like I wanted to work for my own dreams rather than someone else's. And I didn't want to have to work like overtime and stuff like that. I had a sales job and, I just wasn't super happy. That company got bought out. They offered me less money, the new company that bought it. And it was my time to try my luck at entrepreneurship. I'd seen these dudes who were really, really cool with they took me in, they mentored me. And just becoming an adult in general. When I was 21, I got that job, and I saw them get paid out, and I'm just this employee that didn't get paid out, and I was like, man, I want that. And so I had these aspirations and goals and dreams and all that kind of fun stuff, but didn't really know what I was doing, and that showed because 6 months later, after I tried to start a company, I was broke. Okay. In writing my failure plan, I was looking up what foreclosure meant because I didn't have enough money to start paying my bills. I probably should have understood what foreclosure meant. It means the bank's going to take over your house if you can't pay anymore. And that's basically what it means. So I wanted to see the process, wanted to see could I go a couple months without paying my rent? Do I get a buffer period? I started seeing articles. Before I started seeing articles, I saw I think Zillow had the Zestimate thing, and the Zestimate said that I could rent my house out for $1,500 a month. Matter of fact, the people that lived in my neighborhood that were renting the same style house as me, they were paying between $1,400 and $1,600, and my mortgage was $900, and I didn't have the money to pay my mortgage. But I thought, wait, so maybe I won't have to foreclose. Yeah, I have to move out and sleep on someone's couch, but I could just put a renter in here, and I could profit $400, $500, $600 a month based on what they're paying me in rent. And I had no idea this was the case. I thought renting was less than, it was cheaper than owning. And that's not the case. Usually renting, people are actually paying more. That's how real estate investors make money. And so I started kind of looking into it more. Is this the case? Oh, mighty Google, renting, how do you make money renting, blah, blah, blah. I started seeing all these articles about 88, 90, 92%, 85% of self-made millionaires in the United States made their money through one form or another of real estate investing. And I wanted to be a millionaire. I had to be self-made because I was broke as a joke. And it's not like I had a handout from the family. They were supporting me, although they recommended I keep a job and play it safe. But that's where I was at. And so a few days later, I saw an infomercial with a dude from HGTV, perfect hair, slick back, perfect teeth. I was so pissed about it. It's like, God, why does that guy have such perfect teeth? And he's on the beach in his beach house talking about how his students were making 50 grand here, 30 grand there without a dime out of their own pocket. And I was like, oh my God. I saw this the other day when I was writing my failure plan. Now this dude's telling me I can do it without my own money. And he was selling a book. He's like, yo, I'm just here to offer my free book. You just pay for shipping, right? Free plus shipping book for those of you who are marketers. They got me on the free plus shipping. They overnighted the book to me. I paid $7. I could afford that. They overnighted the book. I read it. It was a bunch of stories about how people were having success. Gave me a little bit of information. Left me wanting more, which is actually very good marketing. And a couple days later, I had a sales dude calling me and telling me about a seminar that was coming up in Southern California where I lived at the time. I was in Pomona at the Pomona Fairplex. And he was telling me how they're going to teach you how to make all this money. You make all this money within X amount of days, making all these very illegal false income claims. But he had me hooked. He probably could sense it. But I was telling the guy the whole time, I'm an entrepreneur. I've got this business, blah, 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 blah. And anyway, he dropped the hammer on me. It was $15,500, right? Between 15 and 16 grand. And I had told him I was an entrepreneur. I didn't tell him I was a broke entrepreneur. And so I got off that call quick. I asked him for references. That was the way that I could get off that call. But I ended up checking those. I called these people that were references. I was trying to poke holes in it. And I looked them up, and they talked to me about it. They said that they were having this success. I found it online that they were having these success. I was like, fuck, this is actually real. And I had a girl that I was dating at the time. Right after I quit my job, I was dating this girl. I fell in love with her. Hadn't told her yet. And, we were living together at the time, or she was like in the process. I forget. Were we living together? It was right in the process, but I was stressed, right? And I told her about it, and she hit me up a day after I initially told her about it. It was the middle of the day. I was super frustrated, like wanting something new, wanted to be able to do this entrepreneurship thing, wanted that financial freedom. I grew up watching MTV Cribs and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, man, I just want this so bad. She called me. She's like, Jake, is this it? I was like, no, please don't break up with me. Like, I think I love you. And that was big for me to say. I think I love you. Like this, this failed business thing, like it's just a speed bump. Like, we're going to make this happen. She's like, no, is this it? And I thought she was breaking up with me. I'm like, no, please, babe. Like, you mean a lot to me. Anyway, it's embarrassing part of that story, but she was like, no, is this real estate thing it? And when I first met her, I told her that this other business that I started was it, and she saw me crash and burn. And so reluctantly, I answered the question. I said, I think it is. She's like, Jake, is this it? And, tail between my legs, I said, yeah, I think this is it. And she just saw the other thing that was the previous it, crash and burn, me lose everything. So she's like, I'm going to call you back. And I waited like for a half hour. I was pacing around the house. It felt like all day. And she called me back and she said, hey, I've been banking with a credit union since I was in high school. I know the manager there. I increased the limit to my credit card to $10K. And I'm co-signing with you on 2 more credit cards. You're going to have the 15.5 available. Let's do it. And I was like, holy shit. So I did it. This broke kid, 25, 26 years old, going to this seminar. There's 400 people in a room. They had all like gone to other seminars and this upsell kind of thing. And me, who just read this book, was broke and was like, what's going on? All these other people paid 25, 30, 40, sometimes 50 grand for that, depending on how they got there. And there's me. And over the end of 2.5 days, like I had the basics down. And I saw enough people that had success with it that my belief was high, and I felt like I understood enough to start making moves. So started making moves, making offers on houses. I've offered every property in the city that I lived in. Everyone rejected. 100 rejections, 200 rejections, 250 rejections, 270 rejections. It was offer number 273, 2 months into this game, that I finally got an accepted offer. It was a house in Hemet, California. I found a dude from Facebook who is twice he's like 60 years old, from Detroit, Michigan, who ended up funding the deal because the numbers were good enough. And I bought that house, I renovated it, I resold it within a couple of months. I made 38 grand net profit, okay? I remember that day like it was yesterday. I was crying when you have a very low bank account balance and all of a sudden it goes up to 38 grand. They put a hold on it. I remember I was stressing on that, crying tears of joy. And also, I think in that emotion, I realized that something that I had been telling myself I could do, I just gave myself proof that I could do it. And it was something brand new to me. I grew up playing sports, so I understood winning. I understood losing very, very well too. But that was something where I proved to myself that, okay, I'm a real estate investor now. We're going to go in hard on this. And so, paid that girlfriend back, that girlfriend that believed in me before I believed in myself. That's my wife, Carlene. We're married now. We've got 3 kids, dog, like all that fun stuff. A few houses. But that was a defining moment in my life. And there's a lot of times I wanted to quit. There's a lot of times I wanted to give up, where I questioned myself. A lot of times. But I didn't. I just kept playing the game, sometimes reluctantly, sometimes like feeling like kicking a hole in the wall, but I kept playing till I found success. And once I found success, I realized what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong. And I leaned into what I was doing right and tried to correct what I was doing wrong. First year made over 100 grand. Those first 12 months, made like 125, 130 off of 6 flips. There's all sorts of crazy ups and downs, but I became what I wanted to become. At first, I thought it was becoming a millionaire, and I got to that point. It's like, I feel the same. I'm wearing the same clothes, right? Like I drive the same car, and there was something more for me, and it was about having time, the freedom of time, the freedom to create my own schedule, create my own life, and not have to stress if I want to take a vacation, or not feeling like I need to go out and work more hours in order to make money. And I've had some weird stuff happen. Like my dad passed away, my father-in-law was murdered, he was shot and killed, and that happened within 6 weeks of each other. That taught me how to flip houses remotely, going through all that chaos and bullshit that came along with that. And so there's a lot of ups and downs in my journey, but I learned from scratch, and I teach it from scratch. And that's kind of your context for this. I won't go too deep into that, although I already did go pretty deep. But what you're going to see on this whiteboard here, you're going to see the numbers. You're going to see how I've been structuring deals. I mean, from day one, or from flip 1 to flip 962, right? It's the same thing every time. If you've ever been on a live before, which a lot of you have, a lot of you guys watch all these lives, you'll notice that the way that we run numbers is the same every time. Whether I'm in California and I'm flipping a house in Florida, or whether now I'm in Tennessee and flipping a house in, New Mexico, the numbers are the same. The process is the same. The way that we get into these deals is the same. My mindset's a lot better, and that's kind of the name of the game. Okay. So that's how we're going to break it down today. If you have any questions as we break down this latest flip, let me know. Let us know in the chat. Like I said, I have a moderator in there. I get to teach this game. I'm blessed enough to have this mentorship program where there's other people that I'm helping make, 5, 6, 7, 8 figures, increasing net worth and everything. And it's all through this beautiful game we call real estate investing, especially using this beautiful thing called other people's money. And yes, it's real. And yes, when I say not a dime out of my own pocket, I mean that. There's a lot of lives being changed through this game. I feel blessed to be a part of that. And this is how we're going to set the table here for this table I didn't think I ever had a seat at. Now all of a sudden we have our own table, and we're bringing a lot of people along, okay? So let's break it down. How was that, right? I got that done quick. So with the property that I'm going to talk to you about, I actually did put it under contract, which means I made an offer on the house and the seller accepted it, right? It's under contract. I put it under contract like a month ago, 3 to 4 weeks ago. And I didn't like the numbers at first, so I ended up backing out of the deal. And yes, you can back out of a deal if you get off to a false start. I do it all the time. Some of the best deals you do are the ones that you walk away from. And we are afforded that luxury in real estate investing. Many people don't know that. Like there's a lot of checks and balances. There's a lot of safety nets that we build into the process of this. And so the first time it came through, I thought the numbers were good. My rehab numbers came back a little high, so I backed out. But then the seller, after being pissed off at me for backing out of the deal, came back and said, we can't sell this property. I want to sell it. I need to sell it. And if you can buy it quickly, we can meet your number. And I was reluctant at first, but I ended up going forward. So initially when the property came across my desk, it came from a real estate agent. They were asking $350,000 for it. It's beat to shit. I can show you guys the pictures of it because I have 2 phones now. I feel like I'm super important. Let's see. Let's make sure that we're on point. Let's put that on. Put on Do Not Disturb, so if I get a call, it's not on the same Wi-Fi. So this house, when it's sent to when it comes across my desk, let me actually put it in here. What's the address? 518. Oh, that's not it. Wrong state. Right here. So when it came across my desk, right? A lot of times, and it came from a real estate agent. It was on the open market for sale. It has the sign on. It's on Redfin. It's on Zillow. Here's what it looks like, okay? You got the ring light on there. Sorry about that. It's not super nice, okay? Try to make it so you guys can see it. Oh, man, we're going to make that look nice. It's going to be sick. Right? It's just a dated house. And the seller really wanted to sell. They really needed to sell. And they thought that they could get more than what I was offering with my price reduction. But initially, when it comes across my desk, I don't look at those pictures that I just showed you. I don't look at the shitty condition that it's in. I don't care what they're asking. What I want to do is look at the neighborhood, okay? And usually it's like an overhead map. You could do this with Zillow. You could do it with Redfin. You want to look at an overview of the neighborhood. You want to see what similar size, similar year-built properties have recently sold for over the last 3 months, maybe over the last 6 months. If similar size and similar style properties over the last 6 months, if there's a bunch of them and they've kind of sold in a cluster for a consistent price point, meaning, okay, if we look at it overhead, you got one house here that sold for this amount. This one sold for a similar amount. And they're all like within the same neighborhood borders, which I'll show you what that looks like too. Should have been prepared for you guys on this. And I talked about this on my stories yesterday as well. But if you're looking in a neighborhood, right, typically, let's see if we can get this going. Typically, this is what an overhead view of a neighborhood looks like, right? There's a bunch of houses. All those blue ones are the ones that have sold. Green one is our property, right? You look at that. If those 5 blue ones sell for a similar price point, you know that that's what your property can sell for if you put it in the similar condition that those ones are in, right? And so if all those properties are selling for, 200 grand and every house has white shaker cabinets, gray granite countertops, the fake hardwood flooring that's brown or gray or whatever it is, well, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the exact same thing to my property that all of those have done. I'm going to make sure that my kitchen is good, right? Paying special attention to the kitchen, to my master bathroom and the curb appeal. Like make sure the grass is good, it's painted the right color, it's inviting for someone to come in so they have status within the neighborhood. If I do that and price it similar to what the other properties are selling for, typically I know that I'm going to get right around that same price point. I also know about how long it's going to take for me to sell that house, right? Whether it's going to be 15 days, whether it's going to be 30 days until I get the right offer, like all that stuff can be told with just looking at the trend for the neighborhood. So with this one, they're like, hey, Jake, check this house out. It's beat to shit, man. Like you put it on your Instagram. They think that's what I'm looking at, right? And I don't fault them for that. They call me to tell me about it. I'm like, yeah, what's the address? Mute, speakerphone, so I hear them talk. Sometimes I unmute it. Oh, yeah, okay. Give me 1 second. I'll go in and look at that neighborhood and put all the different criteria into Redfin or Zillow, and I'll see if I can get a read for the neighborhood. If I can get a read for the neighborhood and it gives me a consistent price point and I know what this property can resell for, that's when I start working backwards, and that's when I start looking at, how much work is this going to need to put it in that condition, right? Subtract everything. And if my offer price that I can get it accepted has enough spread for me to make a good amount of profit, then I'll make an offer on it. If I start, it's beginning with the end in mind. If I start trying to find that number, that resale number, and I can't figure that shit out, there's no point in me looking at the house, even if they're asking next to nothing for it. I can't flip it if I don't have a predictable resale number based on what the neighborhood trend is. I can't sell this house for more than it's worth. I mean, I could buy it for a discount, especially if no one else wants to buy it, especially if it's distressed and a bank won't finance it for a regular buyer. I'm pretty much the only bridge between the seller selling the house and it's sitting, I guess it's the seller selling the house or it's sitting on the market, okay? And so when it's sent to me, I need to have a predictable resale number, and that's the only way I put my precious time and energy into reverse engineering it to see whether or not I want to add that to my portfolio or leave it out there and let somebody else go and pay a dumb number for it, okay? You have to begin with the end in mind. So with this specific property and looking at what's going on in the neighborhood, I was able to get a trend of about $440,000, okay? I could sell this house for $440,000. It's like 3 bed, 2 bath, 1,400 square feet, whatever it is, right? The other houses at around that price point were selling for $330,000, $350,000, $340,000, $335,000, $345,000. And the one that's most similar right around the block is right around $340,000. So I have a trend. I know what I can sell it for. I know exactly what I need to do to it. And that is the baseline of me deciding whether or not I'm going to flip a house. I don't have to be there in that neighborhood. I'll never be inside that house. I'm never inside most of my flips, okay? But if the numbers work, and the numbers work based on this stuff that we're looking at, I'll move forward. I'll write an offer, right, for a price point that I determine is the right one, which we'll get to here. But if I can't get that read, there's no point, that read on the resale number, there's no point in me progressing with the flip, okay? That's how this game is played. You just use kind of discernment on whether or not it's a good deal for a resale, and then we work backwards to see if we can lock it in. Does that make sense? I just spoke without taking a breath for like 10 minutes there. Does that make sense? If it does make sense, give me the heart or the tap or the thumbs up or say yes. If it doesn't make sense, throw your question in right now. And that actually gives me an opportunity for a break. What up, Daytona Louie? All right, Brunel Mitch, appreciate that. If it doesn't make sense, there ain't no such thing as a stupid question. Ain't no such thing that's like a double negative. There is no such thing as a stupid question, okay? All right, traveling coke cake. all right, Liz, Billy, cool, appreciate it. By the way, you guys, you don't have to be a wizard or, someone super great with math. You don't have to, have a ton of experience or a ton of money. I'm proof of that. In order to get into this game, you just have to have discipline to execute, run your numbers correctly, and make moves. It's more of a mindset game than anything. In our group, we have calculators and all that kind of stuff. We have people that get into this game with zero experience, and they're able to replace, sometimes double or even triple their income within their first year. Okay? You don't pay attention to this stuff because you don't need to have experience or be a contractor or an agent or have a certain license or educational level to do this. I personally think that they leave this type of stuff about real estate economics out of school because they want us reliant on corporations. Now, you may disagree with me, but I don't think fact disagrees with me, okay? All right. Actually, Chelsea, S-Corps have proven to be the least audited type of entity within the IRS. With those new IRS agents, I was looking at the numbers. They're probably auditing people making less than 30 grand a year for the most part. It's a shitty situation. All right, so anyway, we're gonna start busting this on the board. All right, so we're gonna put this into two categories, you guys. All right, on this side, and this is when stuff gets interesting, okay? You're gonna see things backwards, so you gotta make sure you pay attention and ask questions, screenshot if you want, okay? On this side, we're gonna have the project category. On this side, we're gonna have the resale category, okay? Now, they're going to contribute, there's 8 basic numbers, and it's all going to contribute to our profit, but you'll see why it's important to separate the two, okay? So first off, we're going to talk about the resale category. The resale is what we can, when we're running our numbers like we were just talking about, what we can very, very accurately predict that we can resell our house for based on what the neighborhood's doing. We have to start with that side, or else we don't know on our purchase side and our project side whether we're getting the property for a good deal, okay? So with this one, I can pick it up, or I can resell it for $440, all right? See what I mean with it being backwards? Can you see this? All right, so $440. No, you're not dyslexic. This is a mirrored thing. You're seeing it backwards, okay? If I can sell it for $440, remember I told you, this is 3,000 miles away from me. I am not a licensed real estate agent. I'm just a dude over here running numbers on Redfin, making moves with other people's money, okay? And so usually when somebody sells a house, if I sell this for $440 at the end of the day, if that deal closes and the money comes in, 5% of that goes to the real estate agents, okay? Half of that, 2.5% to my agent, 2.5% to the buyer's agent, okay? They split it up. Sometimes it's a 6%, sometimes it's 4%. I'm typically at 5%, or else I won't move forward with an agent. And that's up to me, okay? So 5% of this, if this house sells for $440, which we're predicting that it's gonna sell for, 5% of that is 22 grand. So if I sell this for $440, 22 grand comes right off the top in their sticky little fingers, those real estate agents. Actually, real estate agents are really good at what they do if you get the right one. If you use our scripts, they're my lifeline, okay? They do really good work for me. I delegate stuff that I don't want to do or that I can't do as well, or I don't want to do open house. I got 3 kids. I'm coaching baseball. I'm doing fun stuff on the weekends. This is lifestyle by design type stuff for me, okay? Doesn't mean I'm driving a Lamborghini. I still have my 2014 4Runner, which I love. I drove it here to Tennessee. It's still kicking. It does need to change, an oil change or whatever they call it. But for me, lifestyle by design means I could do whatever I want with my kids, with my wife, with our family. If we want to just cut out and go on vacation for 2 weeks, we can do that. If the kids are out of school, right? I can go and coach the baseball team in a new area, which is kind of weird because I don't say y'all too much, at least. But that's important to me, right? My dad wasn't able to coach my baseball teams because he worked his ass off, and his days off were Monday and Tuesday when I was growing up. He was a pool and spa salesman, okay? Pool and spa salesman on commission. So he would go an entire winter without making any money, and they make money in the summer. We didn't have a ton of money, okay? But I wasn't afforded that because my dad was grinding it out, trying to make money, trying to sell pools and spas out of this store. And his days off were Monday and Tuesday, and I was in school, right? I wanted something different. My kid is taking the bus at her new school. School started on Monday. We can be there at the bus stop, which is actually right in front of my house, kind of cool, when she goes to school, and I can be there at 3 o'clock when the bus drops her off, right? I'm actually at my house right now. I'm in the 6th bedroom at the new house. It's great, actually, unless they're crying right outside that door, then I get a little anxiety. But the whole parenting thing, I'm not a parenting mentor. I'm just a real estate mentor, okay? So anyway, that stuff is important to me. If I was a real estate agent, first off, I'm only representing houses that I live in the area, right? And secondly, there goes my weekends because I'm holding open houses, I'm taking calls at night, like all the stuff that I personally just don't want to do. That's a lot of time that they spend making these deals happen. No offense to real estate agents. You guys do God's work. You're doing the Lord's work. It's just something based on where I'm at in my life. That's something I would rather hire you guys to do than me have to do it myself and spend that time doing it, okay? So if I sell for 440, 5% comes off the top to the agents. One of them gets 11 grand, the other one gets 11 grand, 5%. We also have what's called closing costs, which is title or escrow fees or closing attorney, depending on where you're at in the country. They all do the same job. They coordinate the transaction. When the new buyer comes in, they take their money, they take ownership of the house, take it from me, put it to the new buyer. They make sure property taxes are paid. There's no bullshit, liens or anything that's transferring to the new buyer, right? They take care of that. Usually that's between 1% and 2% of this number. Okay, so let's say it's between $4,400 and $8,800. So we'll say $5 grand to keep it round. Typically, it's closer to 1% than it is 2%. Sometimes it's under 1%. I'm gonna say $5 grand just to keep it nice and clean. So if I can sell this house for 440, I take 22 grand off the top to the real estate agents. Remember, they're sticky little fingers, and 5 grand goes to the title company. These are expenses, but they don't come out of my pocket, right? I don't have to get OPM for that. They come from the new buyer's money if the deal closes, right? These are broken off to the people that are involved before I get my cut, okay? So if I sell it for 440, 22 grand comes off the top, that's 228, right? No, 22 grand comes off the top, that's 218. Somebody got a calculator out there. So 440 minus 22, that's 418 minus 5, that's 413, okay? 413, if I sell this house for 440, realistically, based on how this is structured, with me never setting foot inside, me coaching baseball and living life how I want, 413 is coming my way. Does that make sense? If it does not make sense, speak now and I'll answer that question. If it does make sense, throw the little thing in the chat, give me the hand, just let me know that it's making sense. This shit is important and it may seem simple, and I've been explaining it for years. I used to coach this stuff on stage and write curriculum for the big, infomercial seminar companies. I know how to answer these questions. If there's one thing I'm good at, it's good at answering these questions. So if you have one, take the opportunity to do it right now, okay? This makes sense. Okay, good. I'm going to take another drink of water too. I like it. I like that new emoji, this one. Perfect. Thanks, guys. If you guys are interested in learning how to do this stuff, hit the link below or in my bio. Mentorship program's open for another 7 days, I think 7 days till next Wednesday. Then we're shutting it back down, and we are going after the opportunity right now in the marketplace is ridiculous. I'm going to show you why. If you're interested, learning A to Z, one-on-one with me, using my whole business model, scripts, all that kind of stuff, replacing your income, maybe even double, tripling it, like a lot of people in our group, apply, schedule a call, and let's do this. What does escrow mean? Sylvia. So, what do escrow mean, right? So Sylvia, escrow, it's like they're called like Chicago Title Company. They're essentially an insurance company, and they have somebody, like they're usually called an escrow officer. And they sit there at a desk, they take calls from the buyer, they take calls from the seller, they make sure I'm signing all the 100 pages of documents to make sure that I'm giving the new buyer everything that they need. They contact my lenders. If I have lenders on the property, they get them paid off. They just make sure the transaction goes well. And they actually put an insurance policy on the transaction so that if for some reason the new buyer, let's say we're in an HOA and I have outstanding, like I haven't paid HOA dues in a month, or let's say I'm behind on property taxes. This actually just happened to me. I bought a house and the seller had defaulted property taxes from 2017 and they didn't show up. But I paid these closing costs, and you're required, especially if you're using a lender, to have this title policy. Escrow officer coordinates all that, makes sure everything is legit, and it takes like 30 days. So they coordinate all this stuff, and they put an insurance policy in place. And what happened with us is the county of where that property was in sent me certified mail like a month ago, and they were like, "Hey, you have defaulted property taxes on this. It's going to go to tax sale unless you pay it off." I'm like, "Well, I just bought this property." So the title company missed that. And so because I have an insurance policy on that, the title company has to go back and pay for what they miss and make it right. Right. So I don't get into any trouble for something that the previous owner fucked up on. Right. And that's how that whole thing, that's how that process works. So they just coordinate the entire transaction. They have an office, right? They're big company. They're insurance companies. You may have heard of like Fidelity Title or First American Title or Southeast Title. Usually they're called title or escrow companies. They just coordinate the transaction so nobody gets into trouble. Keeps it legit. All right? Cool. Perfect. Yeah. That's part of every transaction. That's why a lot of times people are like, well, I can't do real estate investing. I don't know how to like change ownership of the property and like make sure the property taxes are paid and all this stuff. Like I could probably figure it out, but I don't think about that stuff. The title company takes care of it when I sell it, and that comes out of those closing costs. Right? That's what that between 1% and 2% is all about. That's what it represents. It's the money that the title company is using to coordinate making sure I'm paid off on everything. All right? So you get OPM. Do you have to pay back OPM? Yes. OPM is not charity. It's not free. And typically it comes with like an interest rate or like a cash on cash payment when you sell it. But you can't get OPM until you have the full deal structure. And that's what we're going over right now. I thought sellers have to pay for closing costs. Both sides pay. In some markets, if it's a buyer's market, like a lot of times sellers will be paying closing costs. If it's a seller's market, a lot of times buyers will be paying closing costs. There's typically fees that go into either of them. Like I invest in, there's one market that I invest in that's about an hour from the Bay Area. And I invest there strategically because people are fleeing the Bay Area like crazy, right? Houses are $1.5 million for like a studio, right? For a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. So people are willing to commute an hour each way because they could buy a house for $400,000 that costs $1.5 million in the Bay Area. But in the Bay Area, the buyers pay all the closing costs because they just want to get that transaction. That's customary. So they're starting to come to this area, and a lot of times I'm paying like $500 in closing costs because as the seller, I'm paying that because the buyer's covering all that. I love that type of situation. Hate it when I'm the buyer, love it when I'm the seller. But typically it all evens itself out because we're going to talk about closing costs on the other side. Very good question. OPM, other people's money, investors who front money to someone looking to flip properties. That's correct. And I'll take it a step further, Eugene. In addition to that, they're not like Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, credit union banks. They're private investors that have millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, sometimes billions of dollars in this fund where they want to put it into real estate deals. And I'll show you why it's so lucrative for them in a minute. But I think that the most important part of OPM is it moves quickly, right? You could be trying to get a bank loan on a property, but you have to write it as a 30-day close, meaning if they accept your offer, it's going to take 30 days for them to close it. With someone and you got all these inspections and appraisals and all that kind of stuff. Someone like me that's using a true private lender, it's going to take me 7 days, maybe 10 days, maybe 14 to close the deal. I'm not going to have to go through all that red tape and bullshit about the property's condition. And I'll close it way more easily and way more quickly, and it's a sure thing, right? Which is why, if I'm using OPM for properties at the top of the market that qualify for that bank financing, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get the deal even if I bid way less, just because I'm using a different type of financing, right? Because it's quicker, it's easier, it's not a headache. They're not going to have to wait a month and a half for the deal to close. Like I write it up and it's like I'm in and out in a week and a half. And other people's money, the speed of other people's money, that's the reason. Speed is one of the most important factors in business, right? Like it's the reason I pay an ungodly amount to coaches and mentors in my personal life because I would rather learn something from somebody that's done it and take me a month to implement rather than take me 2 years and do it on my own dime and the ups and downs that come with it. I would rather do it quicker because once I figure it out, I can build upon it and exponential growth happens, right? I think that speed, speed is important, which is why when I share this type of stuff, take notes, understand it, because I'm telling you what I've done for 900 plus deals over the last decade. I'm telling you what works, okay? Now you don't have to listen if you don't want to. If you just get a kick out of this stuff, that's cool too. I'm good with that. But if you're interested in this specifically, you can learn a lot, especially in the social media age, from people that are doing it and have done it for a while, because you can learn from their ups and downs and lefts and rights. Okay, so with this property, I can sell for $440 after all these expenses are paid. $413 is coming my way. Now, this property came across my desk. They're asking $350,000. And looking at those pictures, probably going to cost around $40,000 to fix it up. Okay, so if I was to buy it for $350 and put $40,000 into it, that's $390, and then I have closing costs and other stuff like that. If I'm all in for, let's say, $395, right? But I can only sell it for $413. That's a difference of about $18,000 in profit. That doesn't work for me because if I get a lender on it, I'm gonna have to pay the lender some money. I'm not like, we help a lot of people with flipping houses. The real estate agent, they can feed their family. Our contractor could feed their family. Our lenders, they just get fatter. But we're putting somebody into a new house, right? And so we're helping a lot of people. However, this shit is not for charity. Okay, I'm trying to make money doing this. And if anybody is like, oh, I thought you were doing this for free. No, I'm trying to make money when I flip houses. This is an investment vehicle for me. It's an addition to my portfolio, and the money that I make doing this allows me to do the things I like. The reason I'm here talking to you on Instagram, the reason I have a mentorship program is because the money I make from flipping houses allows me to do things I really enjoy or the things that I'm good at. Parenting, I don't know if I'm good at it, but I really enjoy doing that. It allows me to be there with my family without having to go work a 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. job, I don't even know why I went off on that tangent, but anyway, they're asking $350. I put the numbers together, and on paper, I have this calculator. It took me a little while to make it, but I have this calculator, spreadsheet calculator. It's not a good deal for me. But if I bid $300,000, that's a good deal for me. So at first I bid $310. They actually accepted $310. And I said, with these numbers that are coming in, it's going to have to be $300. And they said, kick rocks, big F you. And when they did that, I said, are you sure? I don't know if you're going to be able to sell it to someone else for that price point. I said, we're sure. But because there's so much fear in the marketplace right now, people get a little bit paranoid. They make moves a little bit more quickly. So a couple weeks later, they're like, hey, how about that $300,000? I said, well, I'll definitely think about it. And the ego in me was like, F them. I'll tell them $290 now because they didn't accept my offer last time. But I thought about it. I slept on it. I was like, okay, $300,000 will work. So I locked it in. I made an offer. I put it on paper for $300,000. They signed the offer. So we're under contract, meaning it's no longer on the open market. Nobody else can bid on it. Even if someone was willing to pay $310, $315, $320, they cannot accept that offer because they've already committed to me on the contract at $300. Okay? So $300 is what it's locked in at. All right? And in that contract, when I write the offer, I write these stipulations that give me an inspection period. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll close it in 10 days or 14 days usually is what I try to write in there. But I need that first 5 days to have an inspection period. I want to inspect the house. I want to bring my people in there. And so I usually just guess based on the pictures what the rehab is going to cost. And then once this offer is accepted and it works on paper, that's when I'm going to send these contractors in to try to give me bids on what it's going to cost to put it in the condition of these homes, right? And so with this one, I got a few bids. They were between 30 and 40. I ended up picking the dude that was at 35. I've worked with him before in that area. I've never met him in person, but he's done a few flips for me that have been really good. They've been on budget. They've been on time. If there's ever any wrench that's thrown into it, they call me and tell me. So I enjoyed working with them. I picked that dude. It's right in the middle of everything anyway. And so for me, putting in 35 in rehab, that works, okay? And I'm gonna show you why, okay? So buying it for 300, got contractors in between 30 and 40 during the inspection period, and that works for me, so I'm gonna choose to move forward. Also in that inspection period, I sent this whole thing out to lenders and said, what can you do for me, baby? And they all said, hey, I'll give you this much, I'll give you this much, I'll charge you this much for it. Oh, we'll do it like this. They're trying to make it lucrative for me. They're essentially battling each other for the opportunity for me to pick them to give me their cash to flip this house. And I'll give them a little bit of return on that money, but it's secured because the numbers work so well, okay? So if I buy it for 300, put 35 into it, and that's based on bids, right? Bids from actual contractors where I've checked their references. I make sure they understand that I don't advance money. They understand the process. They understand that I'm not trying to over-improve the property. I'm just putting it in this condition. We don't need to be luxurious in this neighborhood. We need to have, I think in this one, whites and grays and blacks. That's what I'm going to do. I don't even necessarily love whites and grays and blacks. This room, I painted this off as green, it's a dark green. But I don't do what I like on these flips. I do what the comps tell me, the trends. That's what I do. That's what gives me the entire scope of work on what I'm doing. If I can't get this number down, I don't do the deal. If I get this number down, I'm doing what this number tells me I'm supposed to do. All right? There's also a couple more categories in addition to the purchase price and the rehab costs. That's closing costs. And again, that's between 1% and 2% of this number on the purchase. So I'm going to say 1%, $3,000. $3,000 is 1% of $300,000, okay? And then there's also utility bills, water, sewer, gas, power, electric, all that type of shit. I've got to pay that for 4, 5, 6 months that I'm going to own the property. I have to pay property taxes for those 4, 5, 6 months. I have to pay homeowners insurance just in case like the house catches on fire or something like that. And so if I'm doing that for 6 months, I'm going to project that's going to be about $2,000. Okay. These are the numbers that go into the flip. 300 grand purchase, 35 grand in rehab, 3 grand in closing costs, 2 grand in holding costs. 300, 335, 338, 340. Okay. 340 goes into this deal in order for me to resell it at 440. Take away, they get their commissions, closing costs, and 413 comes out. And the difference here is the amount of profit that's on the deal, at least on paper, okay? So the difference here is 73 grand. Does that make sense so far? The reason these are in separate categories is because the 340, you need to come up with money to do that. This over here in the 413, the expenses of real estate commissions and the closing costs over here, those are paid, but essentially the new buyer's paying that. I mean, it's an expense for our flip, but these people get paid based on the money that comes in from the buyer. All right. So that's why it's important to separate these two. But with this 340, this is the total project cost. I got to figure out a way to pay this. Okay. Does this make sense on how we got to this number? Okay. This is basic stuff. Feel free to screenshot it. Just get your boy Jake in there. You could tag me if you want. If you don't, I won't be super upset. I'll just probably never talk to you ever again. Go ahead. Get me on my good side. My cheeks are just shining here because I'm starting to sweat. We turned the AC off because the big old AC condenser's right outside this window. The stream bugged out. Was it my stream or was it yours? Ashley Jones, what's up, dude? Does this make sense? That's the big question. Okay. Well, I'm just going to assume it did because there's a big old drop all of a sudden. Maybe the stream did cut out. Making sure you're there. Now with this stuff, you guys, you can run these numbers if you use this same universal calculation, universal formula for any property out there. I don't care if it's in California, Texas, New York, Florida, Minneapolis. Minneapolis ain't a state, but isn't a state. I mean, this is what works everywhere. This is how real estate investors make their money. This is how people, hundreds of people in our mentorship group are making a lot of money by just running numbers a simple way. Okay. Now, with lenders, the bigger that this number is, the more likely they are to battle for your business. Because the money as it sits, not only is it not doing anything for them, they're not making money off of it, it's just sitting there. Inflation's also devaluing that money. So they want to put it into something that makes them more money. But the thing with flipping, or the thing with real estate in general, is when a lender comes in, they have what's called a lien on the property, which means they have the ability to foreclose and take the home if you mess up. All right? So if I mess up, or let's say I'm driving down the road, I get struck by lightning or something crazy happens, my lenders have the ability to take over the house that has about 73 grand in profit in it or more. Okay. So lenders were fighting each other. I ended up getting 2 separate lenders to come in and cover all these costs. And I'll end up paying probably about 12 or 13 grand at the end of the day. If it goes for, 4 months, 5 months. So you take that 13 grand away from this, and rather than me putting 340 into a deal of my own money, right, and making 73 grand in profit, instead I'm going to put $0 out of my own pocket. These new lenders, they came in at 4 or 5 months, they're going to end up, getting like what, $2,200 a month, $2,500 a month in interest. Let's say it takes 6 months, right? If this project takes 6 months, they get $2,500 a month. First month is $2,500, second month is 5 grand, third is 7,500, fourth month is 10 grand, right? That goes up to 15 grand. Let's say it goes up to 15 grand. 73 grand minus 15 that I paid to the lenders ends up being 58, right? 58 grand on one flip where I'm not the contractor, right? I have a contractor doing that work. I'm not the real estate agent. I have a real estate agent doing that work. I'm not funding the deal. I have a lender bringing in those funds, but 58 grand is in my pocket at the end of the day. Yes, you have to pay taxes on that. Don't do that type of stuff. But this is in my pocket on me maybe spending 5 to 10 hours over the course of 4, 5, 6 months on the deal, right? It's usually closer to 5 hours cumulative with me taking a call or looking at text message updates or hitting my lender up, telling my lender to pay the contractor. This is pretty close just on one single flip to the median household income in the United States. That's how powerful this stuff is. You do 2 of these in a year, you make 6 figures, right? You do 16 at a time and they're all selling over the course of the next 6 months. You add that up, that's life-changing stuff. I know that if you're a billionaire or something like that, you'd be like, oh, making 600 grand on the 16 flips that you have right now, like, oh, whatever, like I could make more doing it. That's fine. But for the average American, doing 1, 2, or 3 deals like this every year, an additional 150, 160 grand in your bank account, like how does that change your life, right? I did a live a couple weeks ago. We had, I think, like 6 people from the group through the mentorship program that are brand new investors, like a year to 2 years in. I was like, hey, how much have you made since you joined the program? 200 grand. How much have you made this year? 410 grand, right? Like people are either supplementing their income or replacing their income in huge ways in a relatively short amount of time. A couple of years doing that, can you imagine what happens for the next 20, right? This game, the game's no joke. I've gone from nothing to something and be able to kind of share this stuff over the course of 10 years. I think I overestimated how well I would do in the first 6 months, but I severely underestimated what I would do in the first decade. And so it's really interesting how that cumulative growth works once you start getting momentum and once you start kind of getting out of your own way, getting out of your own head. Like this game can do wonders for anybody. It's just a matter of whether or not people will take the actual steps to go analyze the deal, make a relationship with the lender, talk to contractors, make the offer. When it's accepted, call the contractors, right? Try to back out of a deal if you need to. That tends to be the hardest part of this game, especially for someone brand new that has all this internal dialogue that's like, oh, I can't do it. It's not the right time. Oh, I've always wanted to do it, but like, oh, Jake's program is too expensive. We've got the money, but my mom says this is a scam and blah, blah, blah. It's like, this is far away from a scam. Real estate investing, flipping houses, like it's legal, right? It's legit. It's one of the most, I think real estate investors are the highest paid quote unquote income in the United States by far. We make more than doctors. We make more than surgeons. I don't know if we make more than politicians, but on paper, I think we do. Those back end deals, those are a little bit different for those guys. But this game changes lives. It allows people to quit their job if they absolutely freaking hate it, and allows them to create something good where you're putting food on the table for contractors, for real estate agents, for a new family. They got a brand new dining room with fresh paint that goes exactly in line with what they're looking for because the style in that area, right? This game changes lives. And it's an honor to teach you guys about it here today. So it looks like Instagram throttled quite a bit of stuff here, but we're still going strong. If you guys have more questions or you want to learn exactly how it's done and the step-by-step to do this, hit the link in my bio. It's down here on this live. It's also theflipsecrets.com/mentor. We've got 1 week until we shut it down, and the folks that are in the program, we're going to go attack the market pretty relentlessly. My program's not free. It's not cheap. I do work with people one-on-one. It is the rules to the game, how to play within the rules to win, and having a network of about 900 plus now, 900 plus strong, where everybody's doing this all over the country. We're celebrating wins. We're picking each other up. We're supporting each other. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Now, I may be biased, but our flip family crushes it. But again, some people get confused by this, especially old people. Some people, get envious, right? Because this is something different. And you got someone here like me, sitting here barefoot in my house, talking from the 6th bedroom that I bought. I just bought a pretty nice house because of what I've been able to do with real estate and using some of these tactics, actually. Some people get pissed at it. They don't like the idea of me. But there's a select few that get very, very, I don't know if I'll say motivated, but inspired by this type of stuff where you want to see other people win. If that's you, you may be one of my dream clients. You may be a good fit for this program. Hit the link in the bio, hit it above or below, wherever the hell you see it. Check out what we're doing. There's some information, some testimonials on students that are crushing it. Submit an application, right? Answer the questions and schedule a call. The call is free. It's a free consultation, free strategy session, whatever you want to call it. Where you talk to people with actual experience in this game that have gone through my program or making millions of dollars themselves since before my program that will answer your questions. They will ask you questions to make sure that we can help you with what you want to do with this game. And if it's a fit, this could be, it's very life-changing, and it makes us dangerous. And I say dangerous in a good way because it allows us to maneuver through the marketplace, not be scared of up markets or down markets or what the media is telling us about today's game, and really be able to create opportunity for ourselves, our legacies, buy our time back in any market out there in the United States. You don't have to do that, I'm doing this from 3,000 miles away, and I do a lot of these. It's the same way with people in our group. So if that's you, if it's you guys that are offended or confused or pissed off at me for this, my apologies. This is nothing but love going out to you. I'm just trying to educate on the game. But if it's you that this stuff is speaking to, I would invite you to submit that application. Check it out. If you don't like it, that's fine too. We have a money back guarantee. If you don't like what we say on the application page, that's cool too. I am not stressing about that. But if this stuff speaks to you and it's something that you end up moving forward with, I can help you make a lot of money and change your life with what that money can do for you. Okay. So until the next time, it's been real. Love doing this. Sorry, Instagram throttled us today, probably from that inflation talk I've been known to talk. But it's been real. Happy investing, and talk to you soon.